Russian forces struck an AFU temporary deployment point located in the Pavlohrad industrial zone. Earlier, several columns of AFU armored vehicles and infantry units reportedly entered the plant's territory. For several days, the AFU struck the port infrastructure of Chornomorsk. The city itself was also attacked by drones. One of the vessels damaged by a hit on the Pier Number 4 of the container terminal was the Panamanian vessel Shuai Spirit. The footage showed a secondary detonation. In Odessa itself, an Iskander-M operational tactical missile hit an Optima vessel, but the specific purpose of the cargo is unknown. In addition, explosions were heard in the area of the Odessa-Peresip railway station and in the warehouse territory in Usatove, where the assembly of drones was set up. At least 3 missile strikes were recorded in Mykolaiv at the shipyard's workshop number 16. The plant's premises were reportedly used to house the production of uncrewed boats. Over the past week, the Russian armed forces have significantly increased the intensity of strikes on Kramatorsk, the effectiveness of which is confirmed by objective control footage. The Novokramatorsk machine building plant's hangars were used to manufacture drones, and a parking lot for AFU equipment was set up on the territory of the metal construction plant. The AFU carried out several massive drone raids on various Russian regions. Most of the drones were shot down by air defense. Sounds of secondary detonation were heard on the territory of the 67th Arsenal of the Main Missile and Artillery Directorate, and fuel at an airfield near Maykop caught fire. 2 ATAK-EMS operational tactical munitions caused a fire on the territory of the Oil Marine Terminal JSC in Feodosia. 5 tanks with flammable substances were damaged. In the Glushkovo district, Russian troops approached the outskirts of Novy Put. The Russian armed forces also liberated Medvezhe. Thus, the area is almost completely cleared of AFU presence. In Koronevo district, Russian troops liberated Pokrovsky and Olgovka. Also, over the past week, 𝐔𝐤𝐫𝐚𝐢𝐴 and Nizhny Klin were liberated, thus making the AFU units controlling Tolstoy Lug encircled. From Sudzha district, there are reports about the liberation of Novaya Sorochina and advancement to Malaya Lokhnya. It is known that Russian fighters are conducting an offensive to the west of Ruskaya Konopelka, as well as in the direction of Plekovo, where the enemy is also under the threat of complete encirclement. Near Hlybok, Russian troops attacked AFU positions in Lira 1 gardening community and advanced up to 1 kilometer. In Vovchansk, Russian assault groups regained control over the territory of the aggregate plant, while massive airstrikes were carried out against enemy positions in the city. As a result of a daring attack supported by positions in Sinkivka, the Russian armed forces assault groups occupied the northern part of Petropavlivka. The total advance was about 3 kilometers. To the south, Russian fighters also advanced deep into AFU-controlled territory in the direction of Kolesnikivka and Krylyakivka. The situation in the Lyman direction is unchanged. Assaults continue at the Terny-Torska line. The Russian armed forces are also increasing the intensity of strikes on AFU facilities in the rear zone, where the enemy is setting up repair areas for military equipment on the territory of factories. Information about the capture of Hryhorivka and Serebryanka by the Russian armed forces is unconfirmed, and in Verkhan-Okamianska, a Russian flag was dropped from a drone on the roof of a building, as has happened before. In the vicinity of Spirna and Ivano-Darivka, the Russian armed forces advanced in the forest belts, while in the vicinity of Vimka, they are trying to recapture lost territory. In the Oktyabrski district of Chasiv Yar, the Russian armed forces managed to advance along one of the streets, and an enemy stronghold was captured near Hryhorivka. The advance of Russian troops in the 𝐔𝐤𝐫𝐚 agglomeration was complicated by total control of the airspace by AFU drones. Fierce fighting continues in Toretsk, with Russian troops on the offensive in various parts of the city. In the Zabalka district, Russian fighters advanced towards the Toretsk mine along Shakhtarov Avenue. In the Pokrovsk direction, Hrodivka has been completely taken by Russian troops, and fighting continues along the entire front line to the southwest. East of Selidov, Russian troops are trying to gain a foothold on the Korochenka mine waste heap, where Russian infantrymen were ambushed. In the Donetsk direction, the liberation of Ostrivska creates prerequisites for an offensive on Kurakhove. In addition, encircling Kurakhivka from the south will make it possible to eliminate the salient formed there. In the South Donetsk direction, Russian troops are consolidating on the previously reached borders west of Vodyain and north of Vuhledar. On the left flank, the village of Zolota Niva was liberated during the attack from Preshestivka. Positional fighting continued in the Vremivka direction north of Staromayorsk and Urozhain. Russian troops liberated the village of Levodnoye, as well as rotated and reinforced the occupied frontiers. There is a lull in the Zaporizhzhia direction after a surge of activity of the Russian armed forces, which successfully attacked in Kamyanska. Positional fighting continues north of Robotyne, where Russian troops are trying to force the AFU out of the Uspenska Gully. In the Kherson direction, the sides are fighting in the island zone of the Dnipro River and exchanging blows. In the AFU-controlled Kherson, a series of explosions were heard in the territory of warehouses used for storing ammunition and fuel.